Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, the allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind, head out the shelf, all Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another Saturday edition of the C&E Game Streams. I'm Gaarawarr and this is Gaarwarr's Guide, the tutorial show. This is a show where I have a different topic, usually, well, somewhat different topic every week. I talk about it for about an hour and then I answer questions on that topic and then about anything else in the second hour. It's generally how this works. Today is going to be a little different. Because today we're going to talk about Commodore Krux, the newest Evergreen Champion arriving in Idle Champions, or that just arrived, or might be arriving on your account soon. I mean, I guess it depends on if you've unlocked him yet or not. We're going to talk about Commodore Krux, just like we would about any new champion. But we're also going to talk about how to do their variant, because as an Evergreen Champion, that means you have to go out and earn them. You have to earn them by completing a variant. And I'm gonna do that live on stream. For better or for worse. So that's the way this show is gonna work. So it's gonna be a little different because once I kick off the variant, and we're just kind of waiting for it to go 750 levels. I'll be going through the questions from the questions document over here. This is going to be managed by none other than your favorite, my favorite, community manager of Idle Champion, Sean. Sean's with us today, everybody, folks. So for Sean's help, make sure you follow the instructions down below in the white box. Put question in front of the question colon, and then put your question. And then I will be able to, once I get to that portion of the show, I'll be able to dive in. And look, because I'm going to be answering questions, as they kind of come in, it's whatever. It's a free-for-all. It's great if it's on topic. That's useful for the people that are going to be watching the VOD later. But it can be about anything. I think we got everything. Yes, today's code. Look, I love when I can sneak in some music references. And Commodore Krux is a GIF, which is kind of like a hippo man. So we went hippo hop hooray. which is a little musical throwback reference. Yay. I'm glad people, I'm glad at least one person got it. That's, usually it's okay if only I get it, but it is always nicer if at least one other person gets it. Hip hop hooray. Hey. Okay. All right. So Commodore Hunt, and now my eyes are like, yay, lights in your face. All right. Commodore Krux is the newest Evergreen, but they are the Evergreen for the Light of Xerxes campaign. This is our most recent campaign in the game, so you can find it at the bottom of the campaign banner. Yeah. They are pretty early on in the campaign. There's only 2 nodes in. This is arguably a pretty packed node. I don't know why they threw like 7 adventures in one node, but sure. But they are found in the second node, the very first adventure, Topola's Tower. So you complete this, you work your way through this campaign, you get to this adventure, you do the adventure, and it unlocks 2 variants. This is a lot more like, for those who've unlocked Azaka, remember, like Azaka had 2 variants you had to complete to do it. One was a kind of stepping stone to the second one. So it was Azaka's Procession Part 1 and Azaka's Procession Part 2. That was split up over 2 adventure nodes. This one, it keeps it just in line. So the first thing you technically have to do is Crux's speed run. Because animated GIF says you must have completed Crux's speed run. Crux's speedrun is what I call pre-gaming for the big game. It is literally the exact same variant restrictions, minus a couple of the harder parts. So it gives you a warm-up. Lets you go to area 700. Animated GIF, I'm just going to tell you some tips right away. Animated GIF requires 750, so if you want to kind of test this out and see how you're doing, you can try it here and just shoot for like 750, even 800. See what happens. If you can at least get to 750, then you know that at least one of your teams of champions can go that far, but just know it is going to get a little harder. It's going to get a little harder when you get to animated GIF. So let's just go talk about animated GIF. Okay. So the thing to remember here is every time they introduce an Evergreen, they try to introduce kind of a new set of restrictions. Something like they may take a little piece from here and a little piece of here from someone else's, and then they'll add some little new twist to it, so that they try to make it challenging. These tend to be something that they want to be kind of a what I refer to as like a milestone completion event in your game. Hey, how good is your account right now? Let's find out. Commodore Krux's animated GIF definitely falls into that category. There are going to be people who can get here in terms of completing the storyline adventures, but you might not be able to unlock him right away. It then becomes something that you work towards rounding out your teams or upgrading your power levels across all of the different ways you can do that. Yeah. So, completion zone area 750. Commodore Krux joins the formation every 120 seconds of real-time play. A random champion is transported away, removing them from the formation. Okay, so this means you're gonna lose champions. You're gonna lose champions. How many is a function of time. In the past, we have had adventures where we've lost champions, but they were at set intervals. Right? Every 25 areas, this happens, and you lose a champion. We've dealt with that. It lets you plan ahead, is ultimately what those do. There is no real planning ahead here, because you don't really know. You don't really know how long it's going, like how far you're going to get in 120 seconds, because it's real time. Yeah. So there is an unknown part here that can make you, all right, which is nice. That's why over here, for Crux's speedrun, it's every 240 seconds. So they give you more time, but you get a feel for how you're going to have to manage your removals, and you'll know roughly how many you lost if you go to 750 and then you can potentially double that, right? So yeah. Once they're removed from the formation, they're unavailable for the rest of the adventure. So once they're out, they're gone. Champions can't be removed from the formation once they've been added. We've seen this a lot before, so this shouldn't be shocking. It means you can't just get to, oh, it's about to be 120 seconds. Let me remove all my champions so I don't lose any. I mean, that's how we'd game that, let's be honest. So they make it so you can't remove them. And then fire breath potions can't be used during the adventure because they want you to actually complete it with your champions. And click damage has no effect after area 100. So you can click for speed through the first 100 areas, but that's going to be it. That's going to be it. Yeah. Well, why do I have a leaf blower outside right now? Hold on, folks. I'm going to mute for a second. Okay. Apologies, folks. We had people finally removing a damaged tree from our yard, and apparently they decided they wanted to do some cleaning up, and, well, this is a bad time for that. I will clean it up later. They can go. All right, so the restrictions for animated GIF are pretty rough. This means, you know, what are we going to be looking at? Speed champions, for one, right? Speed champions. You have a speed core, right? Potentially, like hopefully by the time you get here, hopefully you've leveled up your speed core and you have it online. That's going to help give you some speed bonuses. And you also have speed potions, right? Having you know, you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of speed potions here. You're only going to need a couple to get to max 10x speed, depending on what champions you have out and what things you have activated on your core, etc. Right? So there are going to be things you're going to look at for speed, because this is about killing things quickly. You know, that's the function of the speed. The faster you clear a level, the quicker you can move on to the next level. That puts giant strength potions on the table, right? So, you know, having giant strength potions available, gonna be good. Because that just ensures that not only, like, your primary DPS may have more than enough damage to kill things, but the longer you can keep everyone else killing things too, that's going to help with your clear speed as well, because you won't have fire breath potions to rely on for that. You won't have click damage to rely on with that. So that's not something a lot of people think about, but this is why support champions and tanks get self-damage upgrades. That is kind of helping you progress through the easier parts of adventures, because their damage is killing too, and that lets you move through the adventure faster. So keep that in mind. And then I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, there is at least one boss here who has an AoE, who's just going to Shrek your party with an AoE if you don't have decent health. So one of the things we're going to want to do when we're building a formation for this is make sure we have at least one tank, but, you know, maybe two. One tank and a bunch of health potions might be good enough. Two tanks might take care of it on its own. Depends on how much health share those tanks have. So that's something to keep in mind. Something that's going to, you know, reduce damage to your party. Something along there. We are going to have to deal with hit-based and armored bosses in this. So Those are the road bumps. Those are the places where, you hit based is easy. Everybody can take off a chunk, but it is going to slow you down. That's going to chew up some seconds, some precious time for you before you lose a champion. The armored ones are going to be harder to get through. That's going to be, if you don't take care of it right, that's just going to be your primary DPS. However, we do have things in the game now, champions in the game now, feats in the game now that can help you, that are like support champions, etc., that can help you destroy armored segments faster. And that's any champion that now has an ability that does X seconds of bud on a hit, like bud damage. Those are great armor destroyers because they hit that boss and that bud's going to tick off and remove segments. There's an immolation feat. I believe Human has it, and guess what? Human might be a great choice here. Human has an immolation feat you might want to use because when there's 3 of them, when they hit a target, that's gonna be useful to chew through that health. So those are things that we're gonna want to look for this. Yeah. Before we hop into this, let's just hop into Topola's Tower, though, and look at what your reward for completing this is, because, that's important, right? All right. Here is Commander Crux. Commodore. He got a promotion, I keep forgetting. Commodore Krux is in slot 4. He's going to be our Evergreen in slot 4. He is a GIF fighter, and he does this with his pistols. So he is ranged, folks. He does have a ranged attack. Now, his ranged attack is only single target, but it does have a pretty low cooldown. As you can see here, we're looking at 3 seconds. That's pretty nice. Single target DPS with a 3-second cooldown, pretty nice. That means once you get into some of the attack speed reduction champions and things, it gets pretty low and pretty constant. I believe I saw him as low as like 0.75, but I'm not sure exactly how long his attack animation is. Keep in mind, the fastest you'll ever be able to attack is whatever that champion's attack speed animation is locked at. Lawful good, DPS, tank, and support. I'm going to be honest, probably going to use this big bad boy as tanking and support more than I'm going to use them for DPS, but having another DPS option is always nice. One of the big things about this, it does have 25 overwhelm, so starts off pretty beefy in that regard. One of the nice things about Commodore Krux is they have a passive. It's called Wild Space Lover. It's the one that's lit up already on screen. That means they can be used in any Light of Xerxes campaign, adventure, or variant, even patron variants. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the restrictions are. This is fantastic. If you're like me, and I know I am, you've run into variants before where you were so restricted you didn't have a tank. And you were hoping that, like, Dungeon Master would bring in one, and you might reroll Dungeon Master over and over again to try to get a tank. Well, in Light of Xerxes now, you will always have Commodore Krux available to tank for you. Now, I'm not going to say they're an amazing tank. They've got a solid health pool. They're up there in terms of health, and they have solid overwhelm. They just don't have they don't really have anything else in their kit that revolves around tanking, to be honest. They're a big GIF. They're a big beefy GIF. That's the tank. That's the tank. If the variant says no tanks will be available, as I said, regardless of any of the variant rules, so go in any adventure variant or patron variant. It doesn't matter what the restrictions are. That's what these passives mean. It means no matter what it says in the text box, no matter how that adventure is trying to make it hard for you, these types of champions can go in them anyway. We have a lot of these champions now for different places. So, yeah. All right, so let's throw Commodore Krux in and take a look at this Wild Space Lava. I always like to pronounce that wrong. I want a skin for Commodore Krux that's After Hours Crux. And he's got like a silk robe and a smoking pipe and slippers. It's his Wild Space Lover skin. All right. The big kind of buff, and really your only buff, is all hands on deck. This is it, folks. Everything funnels into all hands on deck. All hands on deck is their combination self buff and shared and support buff. So it increases the damage of all champions in his column, which means him. I want to be clear. That does mean him. And the rearmost column of the formation. So you can have up to 2 columns of buffage. So right now, this would be buffing Crux. And if I threw, say, I don't know, who likes to be all the way in the back? Delina, all the way in the back. Crux and Delina both get all hands on deck, along with anybody else in their column, right? Now, what doesn't happen is if Crux is in the back, Crux doesn't. Everybody doesn't get the buff twice. They do specifically call that out. The buff can only be applied once. So, Crux's call hands on deck, Crux's column, and the column all the way in the back. All the way in the back. Okay, again. Delina loves that. All right. So, everything else we're going to see is pretty much going to funnel into all hands on deck. So, battle stations. This increases the damage bonus of all hands on deck by 25% for each second the champions are in the current area. So the longer it takes you to clear an area, the bigger this bonus is going to get. It stacks multiplicatively. That's the good way. But it does cap at 100 stacks. So in 1 minute and 40 seconds of game time, not real world time, game time. So speed potions are going to make this ramp up faster. You will max out on your multiplicative bonus, and again, this then feeds into all hands on deck. Okay, so this is fantastic. I'm going to tell you right now, this does have item support. It is post stack. Pre stack would be the OP way. Post stack is still strong. I mean, multiplicative stacking is strong, so any buff to that is going to be great. But this buff does apply post stack. All hands on deck does have an item as well. So lots of itemization that feeds into all hands on deck as well. So and because this is an evergreen, that means potentially lots and lots of, like, evergreens end up in the thousands to tens of thousands item levels over time because of the amount of regular silver and gold chests you'll open as you play the game. So some serious buff support coming through on Commodore Krux here. Batten down the hatches. This is their health share effect. Crux increases the health of all their champions by 0.1% of his max health for each variant, adventure, and patron variant you've completed in line of Xerxes' campaign, stacking additively. Any healing effect on those champions is increased by the same amount. Most of the time, a tank is going to share a straight-up number. It's usually 25%. Occasionally, it's less than that. To get to 25%, you would need like 250 on your total here between adventures variants and patron variants, and that's just not going to happen. There aren't that many adventures and variants. So Crux is going to be on the lower end of health share. There is the bonus of, hey, there's going to be a little boost to healing too, but just know Crux isn't necessarily going to keep the rest of your party alive as much as maybe another tank would in the health share department. Yeah. Starfarer Spyglass. So upon completing a new area, Commodore Krux raises a spyglass to his eyes and spots an enemy from the next area. So they look at the area you're going to, and they go, oh, I see that enemy over there. All enemies of that type become his favored foe. So he basically handpicks his favored foe for the next area. Once you complete the area, he's going to do it again. The favored foes take 100% damage, more damage from all sources. So this is just an increased damage bonus for favored foe. And because he's looking at the next area you're going to, that you should always be getting someone on that area, even if it's a mixed group of enemies, someone on that area is going to be easier to kill than everybody else. It should work everywhere except, the boss. You're up in the air on a boss level. Because if the boss is a different type of enemy than the trash mobs, and you look at the trash mobs, you're going to have a hard time killing the boss. But that's what's going on here. Let's look at specializations. Nautical Knockback. Take the Helm, or Foe of Xerxes. So Nautical Knockback increases the effect of all hands on deck by an amount. You'll see it's not a flat amount. That's because specializations have item support for Crux as well. And his base attack knocks back his targets a short distance. So if you'd like to give that single target attack a knockback feature for some reason, if you're working with other champions that might enjoy knockbacks, or maybe you just want a little bit of survivability or something, there you go. Nautical Knockback. So you get a straight up buff to all hands on deck plus a knockback. Take the Helm. Commodore Krux increases damage of champions with a magic base attack by a large amount. By a pretty large amount. Obviously, this is a support specialization because Crux doesn't have a magic base attack. Right? Pretty straightforward there. So Take the Helm isn't for Crux. This is part of the support portion of his kit. He can support people with a magical base attack. Who might like to be all the way in the back and has a magical base attack? I really don't know. Really not sure. Hi, Delana. I'm really trying to make Delana meta happen. Foe of Xerxes. This time, each time any favored foe is defeated, Commodore Krux increases the damage of all hands on deck by 1%, stacking additively up to 25 times until the area is changed. Foe of Xerxes is both DPS and support option, and is your best option. I'm just going to straight up tell you. If you want damage, Foe of Xerxes delivers, and it delivers a lot. Or has the potential to deliver a lot. Now, here's the thing. If you're on a mixed enemy zone, it's not going to deliver as much. If Crux is your only favored foe creating champion, there are other champions that have favored enemies, favored foes. So if you're using those in your formation and creating lots of favored foes, Foe of Xerxes, hands down your best option. It is the one that's going to create the most damage for you. Even if you can only find like 9 favored foes on a given area, it's going to be better for you than Nautical Knockback, just for straight up buffing. Now, obviously, that number is different if you're trying to use a magic DPS champion for Take the Helm. You're looking more at 15, right? It's real straight. It's about 100% right here. It's about 800%. This is about 50. This is 1500, maybe 1600. So you're looking at 15 to 16. Right, you can do the math pretty comparatively. But if you're combining, what you want to do is combine Crux with another favorite foe creator, and then just get all that damage. I'm gonna go with the knockback just because I haven't chosen the knockback yet. Just because I haven't chosen that one yet. And we'll throw a bunch of levels into them. That's fine. All right. So, was that... No, there's one more. There we go. An experienced sailor. I knew there's one more after the specializations. Commodore Krux increases the effect of, wait for it, all hands on deck by 20% for each adventure variant and patron variant you've completed in the Light of Xerxes campaign. Stacking multiplicatively. Right, so once again, we get not one, but 2 multiplicatively stacking abilities that feed into all hands on deck. And it has item support. So both the multiplicatively stacking abilities for Crux have item support. They're both post-buff. They're both post-stack modifiers, though. Not pre-stack. So it is the more balanced way, but we do get 2 multiplicatively stacking abilities. Why is it important? Why are these important? Well, remember, everything's feeding back into all hands on deck. All hands on deck right now. I am at an E22% buff. I haven't even gotten Crux to soft cap. Solid. So Crux has some solid buffing opportunities here. My gear is not great. I know legendary. Everybody's saying legendary, but look, level 10s, level 14, the highest. Level 10s and one level 14. I do not have the item levels. I'm relying right now completely on the epic bonuses coming from these. The legendaries aren't affecting any of his abilities. Those are all separate. So just know, Crux potential has a lot of potential to create a very large buff for his column and the rearmost column, especially when you start stacking this up. Like, look at this. At 100% right now for battle stations, again, low item level. I'm sitting at E13. Again, this is feeding into the E22. And where's yeah, and down here EO5 bonus again. Only completed a couple dozen of the adventures and variants so far. So as this campaign continues to expand and we get more and more stuff, an experienced sailor is going to go up in terms of its multiplier, which means the base effect of battles of all hands on deck is going to go up too. So Crux has room to grow here still, a lot of room to grow. Itemization again. Well, not again, but we have a health item because tank, and then we have 4 straight up ability buffs. All hands on deck, battle stations, and experienced sailor. Again, these are both the multiplicatively stacking abilities. Then a specializations buff. One of those stacks. Remember, and then we get ultimate cooldown. The ultimate effect for Crux is a grenade. He throws one at the enemy with the most health, so if there's a boss on the screen, that's probably where it's going. It explodes, it deals ultimate damage to all enemies in a medium radius, and knocks them all back a short distance. It's pretty straightforward. He stows the thing, he chucks the grenade, it goes boom, there's a knockback. Fairly low cooldown. Fairly low cooldown. We'll let him move forward a little bit. All right, and then feat-wise, he starts with 5 default feats. So we get increased health. We get all hands on deck. Imagine that. Support damage. Damage of all champions. We get self damage. Why? Oh, I signed that one already. Okay. And then overwhelm, right? Because tank. There's also larger ones. There's a lot of gold chest feats here. So you get all hands on deck. You get battle stations. If we come down here, there's more health, damage all champions, self damage, specializations. There's a dexterity one, which might throw you off. It already has 14 dex. So what does adding one more dex do? That qualifies you for Shandy and for Zorbu. Both of them have buffs that require 15 dex, and those are going to be nice big deals. Like you can have Shandy supporting Crux, you can have technically Zorbu supporting Crux, or you can have Crux supporting Zorbu, but they're going to qualify. They're all going to qualify for that stuff. Yeah, that's it. All right, we're going to hop out of here and we're going to dive into the variant. And get that rolling, and then I can start doing some questions while we wait. So again, let's go over the variant restrictions one more time. Oh, I was a bad Gaarawarr. I'm going to go over these, and then I'm going to explain something that I highly recommend you do. So again, Crux is in the formation. As you'll note down here, this is the normal formation. Always has someone missing from the middle. We have an NPC there all the time in this campaign. There's still 10 other slots. But it does break up your ability to build adjacencies, right? What's going to happen with this is now we're going to have Crux and that NPC. Crux, just so you know, they should have put the C in here. He's going to be right in the middle. This lets you more easily see the timer. Because remember, there's a countdown timer of 120 seconds. They put it right on his belly. They give you a nice belly timer. And then the NPC shifts back here. So you are running this adventure with 9 champions instead of 10. Okay, Crux is going to be in the middle. Every 120 seconds of real-time play, random champions transported away, remove the formation. They're unavailable for the rest of the adventure. Now, this is 120 seconds of real-time play, but I'm going to do this, real-time play. Why do I say that? Because it's not real-time play. It's better. It's better. How does not real-time play... How does it get better than real-time play? Every time there's a screen transition, it pauses the timer. It counts that as not playtime. Thankfully, right? So every time once you hit that point where you've completed the objective on a level, everything about animating the transition to the next level and starting to load in the next enemy to kill does not count. Okay, that means if you kill a boss and the boss bag bounces out and then it just kind of sticks, we've all seen it, and then it opens and then it moves off and then things move along, doesn't count any of that. Thankfully. Thankfully. So there is a little bit of a nice little boost there. It's real-time plus. I'm just going to call it real-time plus. All right, champions can't be removed from the formation once they've been added, so choose wisely. Choose wisely. And fire breath potions can't be used during the adventure, and neither can click damage. Okay, because of this whole 120 seconds of real-time play, here's my first tip. Go into Topola's Tower. Go into Topola's Tower free play. And build out the formation you want to start with. And then save it. Okay? And then, see, let Crux run start. And then load it in, save it, and load it into your Modron. Right? Like this. So that you have and are ready to go the moment you load into that adventure. Here's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to tell you right now, this is overkill. This is overkill, but, you know, it is what it is. Actually, you know what? Let's change it, because it is a little overkill. Shandy doesn't need to be in here. You know who would be great here is Fen. Fen would be great here. And I'll tell you why. Fen is one of those champions that I talked about earlier that has she has a specialization that causes her normal attacks to deal an additional 5 seconds of bud-based damage with each hit. That's what I want. Because I want her, Caddy Breeze, hopefully the DPS here, yes. And Fen is going to be my secondary DPS by helping me chew through anything with segmented health, right? So this is what I'm going to shoot for. I'm actually going to say I'm going to resave this because I changed it. I'm going to do feat saves. I'm also going to come in. Oh, I forgot. Hey, remember what I talked about? Immolation, folks. It attacks, deal an additional 1 second of bud damage every second for 5 seconds. There's another way with Humon that I'm going to help remove some segments. And I'm going to save that. And I'm going to save it with the feats equipped, which is a new feature. This is what I'm going to load in with, because I don't want to have to potentially lose the time, even if it's just a few seconds, because seconds matter. I want this pre-built. I want it ready to go. Okay, so make your first decision. This is going to be my first group that's going into animated GIF. All right. From here on out, though, I'm going to have to make decisions about who I'm going to look at the 3 formation slots that don't have champions in them, like in the formation, and I'm going to pick of those, who would I swap in from those slots. All right, we'll do that once we get in here. So I'm loading away. This is animated GIF. Everything loads in. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to throw 10x multiplier on. All right, I'm also going to, I have a lot of these, but like I said, giant strength is probably where you're going to want to go. If you have any issues with gold find, throw a gold find on there. And then again, for these AoE bosses, I'm going to throw some health. Fire breath potions can't be used here, so they're pointless. They're pointless. Now we're going to go real quick, and you'll see while we're on the screen killing, the timer on Crux is going to count down. But you'll note that like that 103 was there for a while, and it's because it wasn't counting all these transitions, right? So this is what it's going to look like. Here's Big Mama. Big Mama, that big space whale or shark or whatever it is. That's the armored one that's going to AoE your team. That's the level where you're going to run into some issues with survivability. Especially for me right now where I only have 1 tank out. So I'm hoping that 1 tank plus that health potion plus health nodes in my fast core are going to help me out. Which reminds me, I need to go look at my fast core. Which did... Oh, I've got a rather weak core loaded in. Or weak setup loaded in. I'm going to fix that. This will make things a little easier, right? I'm going to breeze through this, folks. I'm just going to tell you right now. But this is an example. You want to have a, you know, you don't need this core to do this, but you're going to need to have a strong, fast core. I recommend the fast core here. A level, if you can get your fast core to level 15, full epic, go. I think full epic's probably going to be, you know, that's the base you're shooting for. You don't necessarily need to supercharge it. But full epic will be nice. Make sure all your speed nodes are hooked up. Yeah. Everything should be hooked up for this. I think I didn't have my gold nodes hooked up on my fast core, but I also have E77 favor here, so gold isn't an issue here for me. But as you can see, we're running through. There's the Tree Blight's going to also AoE your team. So Tree Blight and Big Mama, both AoE armored bosses. Again, we just obliterated both of them because of the combination of, well, just because right now at this low level, everyone's doing enough damage to chew through that very quickly. I've also got Whittle in the back for attack speed. Whittle and Virgil making Caddy Bree attack real fast. Real fast. And getting potential attack speed cooldowns, right? The timer is counting down right here on Crux in the middle. Again, I thought it was on his belly. It's at his feet. Right over here. So you can keep track of the timer right here on screen, which is really nice. So what do I need to do at this point? I need to prep. I'm going to prep Strongheart. I have a lot of options over here in 11. You know what? No, I'm not going to prep Strongheart. I'm going to prep Dragonbait because I might lose a tank, right? If I lose Sentry, I'm going to need health replacement. So I'm going to prep a tank here with Dragonbait. I'm just going to go ahead and level them up because I got the gold for it. I'm going to level them up all the way. I'm also going to prep, just in case I don't need a tank, I'm going to prep Strongheart. Apologies if this is going real fast, but, you know, this is the ideal situation for this, right? This is as fast as you can possibly go. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look in this slot and I'm going to go, well, who might I need? Well, here's another tank option in Ayla, just in case. Because as we go deeper, I might need 2 tanks. So I'm going to prep Ayla. And then I'm also going to prep a replacement DPS. Because if Caddy Bree goes out, I need somebody to replace Caddy Bree. So I'm going to go here with Birdsong. And I'm going to kind of prep Birdsong knowing my formation. And what it looks like as to what kind of specializations I might choose. Because I can't check, right? Can't check. So there we go. I've got Birdsong. Now I'm going to look over here. Who might I prep? Well, you'll notice probably there's a big deal speed champion not in my formation, and that's Briv. Briv is fantastic here. Briv is fantastic here. If you have Briv and you've got a lot of stacks on Briv is fantastic. I highly recommend holding Briv. Don't put Briv in from the start. You got to know when to hold him and know when to fold him. Hold Briv for later in the run. Hold Briv for that point where maybe it's starting to, your level clearings are starting to slow down a bit. Then put Briv in. Because A, you're going to want a strong tank towards the end, potentially, if you're having some trouble. And B, that's when his speed's going to be most effective to you. Skipping levels is when it's harder to get through the levels, right? So hold Briv in your pocket for later. Yeah. Because the worst thing would be, well, I won't say the worst thing, but if Briv ends up being the first one, oh, we just had a removal. Who got removed? Virgil got removed. So I need to replace Virgil. Let's go ahead and replace Virgil with Dragonbait. Dragonbait, as a tank, doesn't have to exist in the front line. He can buff Caddy Bree from right there. So there we go. That's solid. Let me remove all these familiars. Now I'm going to prep somebody over here. Who do I want to prep in this column? Probably Wolfgar. Wolfgar's smash and grab ability will be helpful on these armored bosses. It is a damage boost. I'm going to go ahead go with crit damage. I think there is an argument flag bearer here would be real good. No, I'm going to go with crit. I'm going to go with crit. Yes, this disclaimer by True One Hedda. Absolutely. Your account is not mine. Your run is going to take longer. Most of you. I don't think the people whose runs would go faster than mine are in this stream. So you do. That's why I said when you do the speed run one, which is like a little easier version of this, and you're going to figure out there how many champions you're going to lose. Okay, I'm not going to lose many. We're going very fast. Not going to lose many. We're going very fast. I'm going to hold Briv. I'm not even going to level up Briv. I'm going to hope that Briv isn't somebody I have to deal with. I'm going to go Puent. Puent's beefy right now with his rework. I'm going to go for the critical wound. So we're going to get, we're going to boost crit chance for people just for some extra damage potential. Because that's going to help with Bud. And while Bud isn't, like, we're not using fire breath potions, we can still fire off ultimates. That's going to work off Bud, so we want that. Who else am I going to have as a backup? I'm going to back up another tank here with Avandra. I don't know what this is going to look like, so I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it like that, and we'll hope that we're using Puent and not Avandra. So at this point, what we're doing is we're really just watching. Like, we're watching the timer. We're prepping some champions in the slots we're not using currently. And we're just going, yes, this is who I want to throw in. And we're looking for some solid options. Now, one of the strategies, if you have a slower account in this, and a lot of you very well might, you don't want to start off with your biggest bang for your buck champions, because those early levels you're going to want some speed champions in, but those early levels you can have, lower options on the totem pole, as it were, or on your tier list for doing the damage, because you're not going to need as much, but you still want them to be solid in case you have them the whole time, right? You have to find that balance, kind of like with Split the Party. With Split the Party, you're losing champions every few areas, but you can't just put in garbage stuff. So you got to find something that's good, but maybe not the best. Maybe hold on to the best, because you know you're going to replace, and then hope that your best end up at the end, right? Now, there is a strategy. You can run a garbage group early. And you can guarantee that they get removed. How do you do that, Gaarawarr? Well, you throw your garbage group in. You run them until, and you replace, potentially more garbage champions with more garbage champions until they kind of run out of pushing power. And then you just sit on that level and you wait for the timer to remove everybody. And then you load in a solid group, a more solid group, and then repeat. Right? You can work your way up to a perfect group and guarantee that all the garbage gets removed, which isn't something you can do in Split the Party. So you can strategize it that way. You can build yourself out multiple pre-made teams. Start with, garbage. Get better, and save like a good pushing team with speed champions for the end cut groups. And guarantee they'll be removed because it's time-based. So the time-based, while it doesn't let you pre-plan in the same way as something like a Bully for You, which is Belushi's Unlock, lets you pre-plan, it does allow you pre-plan in the sense that you can remove everyone if you want. You can. Whole different way of approaching this. But still viable. Still completely viable. I got about 12 seconds left. Let me see if I can find a quick question here. 919. So in the wild or in Light of Xerxes, why do you have E77 favor, but the color still shows yellow and not green? Unfortunately, they've bugged themselves. They kind of broke themselves. They copied over the joke code from the Wild Beyond the Witchlight into Light of Xerxes. Wild Beyond the Witchlight difficulty always shows as fair because it's the Witchlight Carnival. And another word for carnival is a fair. It was a joke. Unfortunately, that joke confuses people. They should probably just fix it and make it just show the actual difficulty ratings. Because what happened is then when they made Xerxes, it looks like they copied that code base, and now all of Xerxes shows as fair regardless of what the actual difficulty is. So it's a bug. It's a bug. I lost somebody. Who did I lose? I lost Human. Oh no. Oh no. I'm gonna go ahead and put in I'm gonna put in Wolfgar. Wait, no, that would give us 3 tanks. I'm gonna put in Puent. I'm gonna move Dragonbait up here. I'm gonna put in Puent. I'm gonna maybe rearrange some things. Actually, I'm going to rearrange a lot of things. We're going to move this. We're going to move this. That's going to be fine. And we'll move this. There. That's going to be a better situation. All right. So who am I prepping over here? I'm sad I lost Human. But such is life. Man, there's a part of me that wants Corazon, because Corazon has an ultimate that is the destroyer of armored enemies, but that's only if you wait a little bit, and I don't want to wait. Delin is a DPS swap option. I know people are like, what? But they are. So is Narak. I'm going to go Narak. I'm going to go with Narak here. I'm going to prep Narak. There goes Big Mama. That's our big slowdown. That one in Tree Blight. Alright. But we're already up into the late 500s, so we're doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Cadellan asks, is this your first attempt at the variant? Did you give a go on another account first? I've literally I've already unlocked Crux. That means I've done this before. Sean did some of his magic wizardry and made the variant available for me again to do for you on stream. So yeah, I did it. I did it on my stream on my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr, spelled like it sounds, over on Wednesday. So on release day, I did it, and I did over there. I did a bunch of. I tried to do some research on like trying to see, is it truly random, and we determined it's as close to random as you can get. And yeah, and I did it there. And I did it there. Foolish Genius, is Crux's DPS tag actually usable? I mean, it's a DPS tag. It doesn't get used. Crux gets used as a DPS. Are they usable? I mean, I don't know where they shake out on a tier list, but they are a DPS champion. And unlike a lot of single target DPS that I don't really find viable, Crux has a fast attack speed. That's the big deal. A lot of times you get a single target DPS with a low attack speed, like, oh, Prudence, and it's not great. And you've got to create AoE, or you've got to use them with people that make them go faster. So Crux is in a little better position there. Crux is in a better position there. But I haven't had a chance. Again, I don't have item levels really on Crux yet to know if they have comparable DPS. I will pop, as I always do, lots of regular silvers and gold chests on Wednesday for the event coming up, Midsummer, and that will get Crux some item levels, and I'll be able to get a better look at him. But really, I mean, Crux just continues to scale, so we'll see. Canellan, will he change the enemy he spies with his spyglass if you move back and re-enter an area? I don't know. I haven't tested it. That's a good question. I know I think it's when he enters a new area, so it might be fixed, but it's pretty easy to test. You can test that one on your own. But you're going to need to find an adventure that has mixed area types on a level, or mixed enemy types. And remember, it is, I do want to point out, it is what I refer to as top level foe types. He actually lists these out. Oh, hold on. I lost Deacon. Deacon down. We need another support champion. Or do I want to put a tank in? Let's go support champion. Let's go Orkira. I do want people to realize I did not build a normal tank line. Why did I not build a normal tank line with tanks in front? Gaarawarr, why wouldn't you put tanks in front? Because this isn't a normal variant. We never, ever want to get to a point where we have enemies building up on our tank line. That means we've taken too long. So really, the tanks that are in here are Sentry's here for speed. She's reducing the area requirements. Dragonbait doesn't have to be in the front to buff. I just kind of moved him up there because the better buffers are in the back at the moment. Arguably, he might be better here. So there isn't any reason to have, in this adventure, to have tanks in your front line. You want tanks for survivability, but they don't have to exist in the front line. So you can build a formation that's all about like the best situations for buffs with lots of buffers, but you don't necessarily need tanks. Tanks that ramp up their damage based off time, any kind of time, people beating on them, etc., aren't really good tanks here. You need people who can activate their damage and their bonuses right away. And we're almost done. I should say I'm almost done. Foolish Genius, does Crux work well with Imoen making more favored foes than usual? Yes. Yes. Here we go. We finished it, folks. Imoen creates dragons, right? That's a favored foe because it's her favored foe. But that interacts with the amount of favored foes you kill on an area. So Imoen and Viconia. Viconia creates undead. And Turiel creates fiends. These types and Minsk will pull in a favored foe if one doesn't exist. These kind of champions work well with the gifts ability that's based around how many favored foes you'd killed on an area. That's a specialization choice. So that's that Foe of Xerxes specialization choice. So if you're going to choose that, if you're going to build a formation with some of those champions, you can choose that one, and that will actually ramp that number up even better. As well as just any champions that have favored foes, and that's what you're going to be dealing with that adventure. You can kind of sometimes potentially have the chance of double dipping, because Crux might pick someone other than the favored foe you already have, right? All right, that's it, folks. We blew through that one, which was to be expected. I lost more speed champions this time than I did last time, but again, between my core and 10x speed from potions, that helped out a lot. The big helper here is just lots of damage. Until right about now, things weren't even getting close to my formation, and that's how you want it. You want to be able to instantly kill everything except for those armored and segmented health enemies. You want to shoot for those being your only roadblocks. Yeah. So again, I think the key there is remembering you don't need tanks in the front line for this adventure. It's all in that regard. It's a lot like Rhea Reborn. If you've ever unlocked Rhea, you didn't need tanks in her front line either, because once again, that was a variant where if something got to your front line, that was bad, because the spawned enemies there would turn off your tank's abilities and leave you, in the lurch, as it were. All right. That was the end of our variant. We're going to pause now. I know I've already been answering questions, but we're going to take a brief pause because it's about that time. And we're going to listen to a song, a musical interlude, while I drink some water. Today's song is the one that I made, that I kind of I announced for yesterday on the stream. And Sean is with us today. I swear this time it's happening. We're listening to Griddle Champion's theme song, Champions of the Griddle. Enjoy.
There's no time for waffling, these here to draw and flip. Batter and eyes ready to go to line and fill and drip. News of buffs and updates, Sean has tea to spill. New heroes and special buffs and tales to fit the bill. Trading If the heat's too high, we'll be in trouble. Every champion's on the griddle, but you can taste it there a little. You just watch along and the wind'll turn out awesome. Every champion's on the griddle. They make God with scissors, and as the song ends, never forget their best friends. Champions of the griddle.
Like, it was just a taunt yesterday. Literally, I forgot that I had made it. What actually happened was I thought I had made it the end song for yesterday, but instead I had made it the break song for today, and it was I turned it into a good joke. Love you, Sean. All right, so while I'm answering, I'm gonna let Crux do his pew pew thing with his pistols. This setup with 2 attack speed reducers, once it gets going, can actually get me down to 0.75 attack speed, which is neat. I do want to point out one thing. This Take the Helm does tell you the number of champions with magic and base attacks targeted by it if you choose it. This is a trap. Ignore this. It only matters if your DPS is a magical base attack. This is... Why do they do this to me? All right, we're just going to go with knockbacks. Let me head back into the questions. Let me find more that were on today's topic, and then we'll go back to everything else. Where can we find Celestials for the Crux achievement? Oh, yeah, I didn't talk about the achievement. So my achievement is still in progress, and it's spot 14 different types of favored foe with Commodore Krux's Starfarer's Spyglass. Now, here's the thing. Again, these are top-level favored foes. So what does that mean? If we go into Crux, we can look. And on Starfarer's Spyglass, it tells us who he has spotted of all time. This isn't useful for using Starfarer's Spyglass in an adventure, but it is very useful for figuring out what you need to do for his achievement. That's why this is here. They do also need to add a note that says, oh, current favored foe. Might be a good idea. But this is a list of all of the things you're going to need to find. Aberrations, beasts, constructs, elementals, fae, fiends, humanoids, monstrosities, plants, undead, celestials, dragons, giants, and oozes. Giants and oozes. Okay, so there are a lot. There are 14 different types. These are all the major favored foe types, because everything else in the game falls under one of those classifications, right? Like humanoids, we know, has lots and lots and lots of things that fall under that. So where do you find all these? Well, there's lots of places for most of them. Lots of places for most of them. The question here was specifically Celestials. If you go on Heatwave in a Grand Tour of the Sword Coast, let's go to Grand Tour of the Sword Coast. Is Heatwave down here? Heatwave down here on the Vecna story arc line. Heatwave will have Celestials. I put like one adventure where you could find everything in my guide to Commodore Krux. Over on the Shocker, I have a guide to Commodore Krux. So down at the very bottom where his achievement is, if you scroll all the way down, there's at least one adventure listed there that you can find all that. Are there other options? Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say Celestials, there's only, there are very few places where you can fight Celestials in the game. But there's at least one place where you can get all of those that's listed. I didn't give you like the area level. Folks, you got to do some things yourself. But there's at least the adventure for you to go hunting in. Yeah. So I still have to go grab like 4 more myself, and I just haven't done it yet. Foolish Genius, now that we have Crux, and well, for Solok formations, what are we missing for the ideal range formation? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we had Egbert as a tank before. The problem with Egbert is Egbert was in Caddy Bree's slot, and Caddy Bree is really the ranged DPS, in my opinion. I mean, Zorbu is also ranged DPS and he's solid, but I've always preferred Caddy Bree. So now you've got Crux that you could use in a single tank formation with a Caddy Bree DPS, and then fill in as you go with Solok and other ranged people if you just wanted a ranged formation. If you have a 2-tank, then you've now got Egbert and Crux, and you could use Zorbu DPS. I don't know. I haven't tried to just build a ranged formation, but Crux does give us more options now. Petruchia's coming back with any suggestion for Crux's achievement, Starfarer Safari. Yeah, my suggestion is go hit up my guide and then just hop around to those different places, and you'll be able to get them all that way. You will. I didn't go looking for adventures that have multiple, to be clear. But yeah. Mojo Magic, what happens if you try this variant offline or champs removed correctly? I know speed effects don't kick in. Yeah, the big problem, doing this one offline scares me. I know some people have tried it. I heard the timer doesn't necessarily work correctly there, but I mean, it could be in your favor, it could be out of your favor. Try it if you want. There's nothing to lose here as long as you're not firing off potions. All you can lose here is potions. So if you want to try it, but I have not tried it offline. I like to play this game, and when it comes to like unlocking a new champion, I want that puzzle. I want to try to complete that puzzle. It's only in situations where something's a little buggy, or problematic, and I'm just trying to complete like patron variants, where I might throw it offline and get something done, but. Or if I'm just doing like seasonal quests in the background. But yeah, so I don't usually test evergreen unlocks in background progress. Imaginal Dis asked a question. I'm not going to read it out loud. That is unintended gameplay. You know that's unintended gameplay. Just submit a support ticket for stuff like that. Definitely unintended gameplay. Sean, if you, I don't know, because I don't know the answer if this is picked up already, Sean. That one in red. The real bunny beast. Will Bruner always survive the random removal? I can't believe you asked. As if I didn't test that. No, Bruner will get removed. Unfortunately, hashtag Bruner lives only works for split the party. It does not work for animated GIF. Let's see any others on this. Foolish Genius, is Crux from the actual adventure book? They are. Crux is from the Light of Xerxes campaign book. So they are a campaign book champion. They are not a CNE original. We have a CNE original coming up in the Midsummer event, the Plasmoid champion Vin Ursa. Bill Sowski, where does one get Crux from? From the Light of Xerxes campaign that we're in right now. Right here, Topola's Tower. You've got to do both. You've got to do Topola's Tower, Crux's speed run, and then animated GIF is the actual unlock run. That's what we were talking about today. All right, I'm going to go back and hit up all the other questions. We have a lot of time today, folks. We've got another, 45 minutes. If you have any and all questions about Idle Champions, fire away. Here's a deeper one. Foolish Genius. This is outside of my purview, but sure, I'll have a go at it. Do you agree with the recent design philosophy that every campaign or patron has its own go-to or always available champion or affiliation? Does it help the game or stifle creativity and formation building? So this is like for instance, Crux is available in all Wild Space or in all Light of Xerxes campaign stuff, right? There are other champions like this, like Vinurse is also going to be available in all Light of Xerxes campaigns, so you can use them together and tag team them. In Strahd stuff, Nahara, who was on screen during the unlock, Nahara can go to any Strahd stuff. And then Nahara has a specialization that allows you to bring in the entire Black Dice Society anywhere she goes, which means you can use Black Dice Society in all Strahd patron stuff. You also have the rework of the Companions of the Hall with Wulfgar leading the way. Wulfgar can go in any Icewind Dale adventure because that's where he's from. And then he can bring the companions with him. So when you're doing Icewind Dale, you have a core group to rely on. I like it. I like that you have like this one group that is like, hey, this is where they kind of canonically spend their time or have spent their time. Companions of the Hall originated in Icewind Dale before landing in the Sword Coast. So I think that's neat. And Strahd, like Nahara and the Black Dice Society, Strahd's a big deal for them. I like these canonical villains or canonical areas. And I like that you can rely on that if you need to. Here's the thing. So far, those aren't OP groups or champion. Like, the Black Dice Society is great. Like, they have some great individual champions as a group. You're not necessarily always running them as a group, but having something to rely on, having something that people can go, hey, no matter what, I can always rely on this to get through something is good. I think the bad thing is when you have champions that are available for every patron. I think that's been a problem for a long, long time. I don't know that they're ever going to fix that, but yeah. Oh, and Awful Ones. Yes, the Awful Ones can go everywhere in the wild beyond the Witchlight. That's true. Awful Ones aren't. They're a full. There's like 3 of them, and then BBG can go anywhere they can go. So, but they're technically not part of the affiliation, but linked to it. Yeah. So this is a thing they're doing. I like it. I like that canonically you can use certain people in certain places. I think it encourages using different formations, honestly, because as you're going to these different places, you potentially are switching from one group to another group to another group. Instead of just riding the same, let's just say it, instead of just riding the same Artemis train through everything, you could do something else. So I think, there's an encouragement there, right? To switch things up. I don't think I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the bad thing is allowing OP champions that are way off the scale, broken, to continue to be in that state. That stifles creativity and formation building. Yeah. Rice, new player here. Welcome. If I level up common items and find a rare version, it will change the rarity. Correct. Will it keep the level or start as a level 1 item? It keeps the levels. So here's how items work. I'm going to go to the collection. This isn't available everywhere, but as you can see, this is an item slot. They've shown you slot 1, and they've shown things that are affecting it. So you can have, it will hold the rarity of the item, and the highest rarity will always apply. It will hold the gilding on the item. As you can see, this one is golden. It's got a golden inner border. This one's got a silver inner border. If you don't have gilding at all, it looks, I call it a copper inner border to keep with the coinage, or bronze. It's just got an inner border that's, right? So that's something that's always there and never changes. This is always there and never changes. The item level of the item will always be there and will only ever go up, unless they put a cap on it for some reason. Like slot 6s have certain items have a cap, an item level cap. So if you go over the cap, they will refund you back down to the cap. But generally speaking, item levels just go up and you keep them. There's also legendary effects that can be applied to items that stays on the slot. That's currently the highest effect you can put on, and it needs an epic, so it doesn't really change anything, but just so you know. And then once you get to epic, you can also apply like a support pigment, and that stays, you know, again, it required those two things, the support pigments and the legendary effect require you having an epic and being at the highest level. But item levels will still continue to go up, and you can still guild the item at that point. So it's about things that it's about bonuses you're adding to that item slot. And they just continue to stack up. That's why continuing to open chests, even if you're getting duplicates, is a good thing, because it continues to give you item levels. Because those duplicates create extra item levels for you. Sludge. Can you tell me a good guide for where specific enemies, like for the season pass, they ask for certain bosses to be killed? Yeah. In fact, they made it themselves. So if you click on the season button, and you see this Legends of Mithril Hall, this is a button. This isn't a button. This isn't a... No, that is a button. That's not a button. These aren't buttons. But this is a button. It highlights a little bit to let you know there. Click here to check out the season blog for details on champion changes, quest tips, and top rewards. And if I were to click there, it would open up the blog. And at the very bottom of the blog, it says key enemies. And then you look for whatever key... I've done them all. But you look for whatever key enemy that you're looking for, and they will tell you one place where you can go find them. And it tends to be a fairly easy place to get them at. So yeah. They made that guide, which was nice of them. Imaginable Disc, is there any search function for champions? Not currently. I recently unlocked all champions. Sometimes I can't find an obscure champion I might need. Yeah. What slot is Omen in? See, I can't even... 2? 3. See, I don't even know. There's 120 champions, 120-ish champions in the game. I don't even remember. So yeah. I just tend to go looking. Yeah, currently no search function. They were just, in some of the things they've been talking about, and they're revamping what the collection looks like. The collection is not in all places, but it's going to end up on all platforms. But this is all the collection does currently, and it's the hottest of garbage. But the collection is getting a revamp, and I think they said one of the things it's getting is a search. If you've unlocked Trials in the Forge, would that help? No, probably not. I'm like trying to think. Because you can sort. Well, yeah, you can. So you can hunt it down easier here by going 1, 2. Do I see Omen yet? There it is. But then this is only if champions have gear and an epic, so that's a limited. That's limited usability. So yeah, not currently. Monula, does critical damage raise the bud? It should. You should, because for a while after crits got out of the game, it didn't. But then I think they changed it, and now it's supposed to, and yeah, should. It's considered their damage. That's just the damage that they did, so it should be. The way you're going to check for that is you're going to look on this screen, and you're going to look for the golden. Not the gold, but there's a pow, that one. So it goes like, and it's got like well, it doesn't mind because I have animated damage numbers, but it's got the little it's got a golden text and then these little braces on the outside that are like, hey, this just did a lot of damage, is what it's trying to tell you. Compare that number to this and see, like, if that number was higher and this number didn't change, submit a ticket and say which person you think did that and that it's not working, because they're going to have to. If it's not working, they got to track it down. But like, I just saw a 146 crit, but that's lower than what we're looking at here for Crux. So yeah. Plume Bob, if I assign points Aggressive Stance Feat, which increases Mithril Hall stacks by 1, and also assign Vanguard of the Hall, which increases Mithril stacks by 2, well, I then have increased Mithril stacks by 3. Yes. They're additive. All feats are either additive or multiplicative, and it depends on whether they're giving you a flat number or a percentage. So the more you add, the bigger the bonus. So Mithril Hall stacks, if you put the 1 and the 2 in, it goes up by 3, and that champion has a base of 1, so that means they're contributing 4. If you have a percentage that's like a 20 and a 40, they both work as multipliers. They both affect what's going on. So yeah, there's no like just higher level replacing there. They all function. You just have to figure. It's up to you to figure out what the best combination is for each person. Tuon, I've heard people say open chests on Wednesday. Is this to say I should hold my chest till Wednesday? So it depends on what's going on any given Wednesday. However, this coming Wednesday, if you're watching this VOD live, or if you're watching this live, or if you're watching the VOD before the 26th of July, this Wednesday is Midsummer, is the return of Midsummer. That's an event in the game. It will be the return of Valentine as a champion. So you can unlock Valentine if you don't have her yet. And you can recruit Eliwick. Eliwick will be returning. So these are going to be the two champions that return with Midsummer. These other champions from the past, like Beetle and Grimm, Shandy, and Xander, they're time gate only champions now. So, but this event will return Valentine and Eliwick, and it will mark the arrival of Vin Ursa, the Plasmoid champion from the Light of Xerxes campaign. C&E original, but tied to Xerxes. So when people are saying save chests until Wednesday, they're usually talking about an event going live, and the chests they're referring to are Electrum chests. So like the one you get from the code today, which I don't see in chat, so I'm going to have to switch to 16 characters. Hippo hop, hooray, exclamation point twice. These, we save these. The reason we save these is because the most efficient way to get a new event or a time gate champion to full blue, because that's the only thing you can really plan to get. Purples are random. The most efficient way to get there is to open Electrums first, because Electrums can drop gear for any champion, but if that champion has no gear, it will focus on the champions that don't have that kind of gear first. So we do Electrums first, and then we open named silvers. So it'll be a silver chest, but it'll say their name. This is a gold Regis chest. So if it said silver Regis chest, that's second, and then gold Regis chest would be third. So we're looking at Electrums first, then named silvers, then named gold. So usually you would pop a lot, like once you unlock all of the champions, pop your Electrums, whatever Electrums you have, even if it's just a few, whatever, just get them in first. Then go start earning chests by doing these champions adventures and the variants and free plays and stuff. Hold on to the golds. Open just the silvers, and you're going to hold on to the golds and open Electrums and silvers until those new event / time gate champions have at least green gear. So that's common gear. They're at least green. If they don't show any empty slots, if they don't show any white, they have green and blue, maybe a purple because you opened a gold from something. At that point, then you can then start opening the gold chest. The reason is golds give you a guaranteed upgrade, but only to either green or blue. And you don't want to pop a gold and waste your guaranteed upgrade early on a green, right? On going from no gear to green or white gear to green, when you could get that out of a silver or an Electrum, right? So that's why we open the Electrums first, because the Electrums will funnel into the new champions for a bit. Then we follow that up with silvers, and then you start hoarding Electrums again for the next event. And then once everything is green or better, pop those golds, because then you're guaranteed to get to full blue in 6 gold chests. And in an event, any epics are gravy. Usually you're guaranteed, if you're doing everything equally, you're guaranteed to get 1 epic at least. Anything else above that is a bonus, and requires using a lot more like bounty contracts, or just getting really lucky. Oh, I need to finish this first. This was from my season rewards, so I will get those out of the way. All right. That's what they're referring to when they're talking about saving chests. Some people have saved chests for Evergreen for Crux when he came out, but Electrums weren't what you saved. With an Evergreen Champion, the only chests you ever open there are regular silvers and regular golds. So dumping a lot of regular silvers in and then going into the golds is the order of operations for an Evergreen, like Crux, earnable from a campaign. But event champions, Electrums, then named silvers, then named golds. Some people might save up gold chests also for some gold chests for when an event comes out, but that's just trying to hunt feats. But I don't think it's necessary if you're early on. It's really only a later game thing. Black Widow, would you please explain pre-stack versus post-stack? Sure. The reason you want to know the difference between pre-stack and post-stack, for those of you who are curious, is because one of those is stronger than the other. And one of those, pre-stack, is only on a handful of champions in the game, and they are, hands down, the strongest champions in the game. If I got distracted by that flying fish in the background. Wow. That flying fish distraction is fantastic. Sorry. I hadn't seen that yet. They are hands down the strongest champions in the game. Once you, if they have item support and you give them lots of item levels. So they are a champion that pays back an investment, basically. So why is that different from post stack? So here's the way stacks work. So some kind of a champion will have you build a number of stacks of something. There's a variety of things you can build stacks for, right? And then it will give you a bonus per stack. So I'm going to make this real easy on myself, and I'm going to say that that we're, this is going to be just, it's like for every one stack, I'm going to get 100% more of something. Let's say 100% more damage. If I have 10 stacks, that's 1,000% damage, right? Very straightforward math, which I got to make it when I can't. It's because it's hard for me to do difficult math on streams. So very straightforward math. If I get 10 stacks with 100 stack bonus per stack, that's 1,000%. If I have a post-stack bonus of 2, it's going to double it. Well, no, let's go bigger. Let's say 3. I know that probably seems pointless, but there's a reason. So let's say 3. Post-stack bonus of 3. What I get at the end is 3,000, right? Because I get 10 times the 100%. Did I do this wrong? This is what I hate doing. No, I did it right. I did it wrong. Okay. Let me back up. I'm admitting my mistakes live. I needed one more. I needed to point out one more thing. The broken part is that it's not just pre-stack versus post-stack. It's that it's pre-stack versus post-stack on a multiplicatively stacking ability. Yes, that's... what I was demonstrating is an additive stack. So additively, I'd end up at 3,000% if I did a post-stack multiplier. And if it's a pre-stack multiplier, what it does is it multiplies by the stack. It multiplies the ability by the stack, but like the bonus, which would be 300%. But then because it's additive, it's still 3,000%. Pre-stack versus post-stack doesn't matter on an additive ability. If we make this a multiplicative ability, though, everything changes. Because what happens is we're then, for every stack, we're multiplying that stack by the bonus. So if the stack is 100% and we have 10 of them, we're taking 100% times 100% times 100% times, it's 100% to the 10th, right? Which should be what? 2 to... Oh, this is where things get... 2 to the 10? Something like that. That's how you figure that out, right? Now, here's the thing. A post-stack bonus, once we get... I'm just going to make this easier. Let's just say there's 2 stacks. So 100% times 100% on 2 stacks is what, 10,000%? That's the number I thought too, Skippy. Okay. But if it's 100% times 100%, we're getting, oh, dang it. We're getting a 300% bonus. We're getting basically, yeah, I don't know. This is why I don't like doing math. We're going to do 10% times 10%, 100%, right? If we're doing 10% times 10%, this is, I hate doing math on stream. It's my zeros. I'm going 100. Yeah. I don't know. The point is when we're multiplying, if you add the post stack bonus, you're doing a multiplication. You're doing the multiplication of the stacks first at like 100%. So you're going to get like that. What 2 Skippy put in 102,400 something like that, right? If we're doing the numbers. This is why I want to do a math and convert the percentage to flat number. Yeah, it's so much easier. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. So let's convert, because this does make it easier. 100% times 100%. 100% bonus is 2. It's a 2x multiplier. 2 times 2 is 4, folks. This makes it so much easier. So you're getting a 4x multiplier if you're doing a multiplicative stack with 2 stacks of 100%. Okay? So then we have a 4x multiplier and then a post-stack bonus of 3. Right? That gives us 12. Okay? 12 is our baseline with a post-stack bonus. Multiplicatively stacking is always the good way, right? Because if we had just additively stacked 100% twice, we'd get 200%. That's a 3x bonus. But instead, we multiplicatively stacked it and we get a 4x bonus. It gets better as the math goes higher. Lots of champions work this way with multiplicatively stacking. Krull is broken in this, is wonderful, I should say, in this way. Now, with that post-stack multiplier, again, you're just doing it at the end. And if we have 100% twice, because we have 2 stacks of 100% multiplicatively stacked with a 3x post-stack multiplier, we get 12. Okay? If we change this up and we pre-stack the multiplier, we're multiplying by the 100% we started with. We take 3 times 100%, we get 300%. So each stack is 300%, which is a 4x multiplier. And then we're multiplying those 2 4s by themselves, we get to 16. 16 is higher than 12. Every multiplier past that, the disparity goes up. Okay, so the more you get, the more multipliers you get, the more stacks you're able to do with a multiplicative stacking bonus. And with a pre-stack multiplier, the more outrageous, the number just takes off into orbit. This is what happens on Artemis. This is why Artemis is the OP DPS champion, but only with that pre-stack item support. When you get the item levels up to a certain number, then they've got to get to that takeoff point, right? And then they're just gone. We've seen this recently: Strongheart, Righteous Might, we see BBEG, Sources of Corpses, and Entreus with if you spread their inspiration throughout the party, they have an ability that has item support that's pre-stack and it's multiplicatively stacking. These champions, super strong, super duper strong. Just baseline, they're strong because they're multiplicatively stacking. But when you start investing in their items, then they hit that takeoff and then nobody can beat them. It took a while, but we got there, folks. Look, it's math on stream is rough, and this is a weird thing to explain because we're talking about multiplying percentages usually, and when you're dealing with multiplying percentages, thank you, chat, it is way better to convert it into a flat number. 100% means it's a 2x. 200% means it's a 3x. 300% means it's a 4x, right? You're always going up 1. Turn it into a flat number, tick up 1. Usually. Cool. Some call me Chris. Walnut was the only one to help my roster for Split the Party 2, but is she any good for anything other than filling that qualification? I mean, she's a tank and a support. She's got a buff. She's not necessarily at the top end, but she's in the middle, kind of middle role of a support tank. Kind of because she requires you to be killing things to have her buff activate, which isn't something people like. Usually you want it the other way around. You usually want the buff to get bigger when you're not killing things because you need more damage. Her buff gets bigger when you are killing things, so she helps you kind of ramp up your damage. And then you need to rely on like fire breath potions or ultimates to keep the kills going. Forest Guardian, how many levels should I pump into Briv before focusing on someone else again? It's not so much the number of levels as to the percentage of jump chance you're getting him to. I think the target to start is a guaranteed chance to skip one area and a 20% chance to skip two. The reason I think that you should just keep putting blacksmith contracts until he reads that way is because that then gets you to the point where you could choose to start doing automated Briv gem farming if you feel like you can get a handle on it. It's a very challenging gameplay type, but that guaranteed 20% chance to skip two is the kind of break point to start doing that, where it's more efficient to do that than to just run a speed group in Mad Wizard that doesn't have Briv in it. So go there, and then I think the second place you would then invest, hopefully, is Human. And you could potentially run Human up to their cap and then come back to Briv if you wanted. What you're trying to do is create a snowball, like a gem farm snowball, where investing item levels into your speed champions earns you gems faster. You spend those gems on chests. The blacksmithing contracts out of those chests then go back on those speed champions, and it snowballs your progress. And then you just start going. It's that same type of thing: faster, right? Until you get them capped out. Eins Drek. Was the dismantle option for season champions time limited? Yes. It's only available for a couple weeks when a season starts. So next season, there will be new dismantle options for whoever's in that season. But yeah, it's only available at the start of the season because it's based around the change to those champions. Yeah. Reverend Blackwood, when will the time come when they immortalize Gaarawarr as a character? Never. And what would be your type? Dwarf. Gaarawarr Grudgekeeper, the character, which I have played on this channel in Storyteller Mars Presents. We did a multiple TTRPG live plays, Storyteller Mars Presents. You can find them on my YouTube channel. youtube.com/Gaarawarr. Gaarawarr Grudgekeeper is a dwarf fighter paladin. Starts off as a fighter, later becomes fighter paladin for storyline reasons, but fighter paladin because he doesn't actually know he's a paladin. It's a whole thing. Yeah. In-game dwarf fighter paladin. It is a homebrew paladin. I don't know if they'd let me do that in game. Tank support. Absolutely. Probably tank support speed, in all honesty. Gaarawarr is a heavily armored dwarf, like so much armor you can't see anything except armor, with a big fatty shield and an axe. So definitely tank. Definitely support, because of course I support everybody. And then speed would be a reference to my guides, right? It helps you get things done quicker. That's probably what we'd be looking at. Mean Cab but it's never going to happen. Look, we're almost 6 years in. Idle Champions will turn 6 in September, I think. I've been making guides in October. It will be the anniversary of my first guide. If I haven't got a champion of the game yet, it ain't happening. Mean Kev, is the Azaka guild guide updated with the changes to the Icewind Dale Champ's gold find link? Um, I don't have an Azaka guide. So, I mean, I have a video. I think we've done it on the video, but here's the thing. Whenever I make video guides or explain how Azaka farming works on videos, the what you should be taking from those guides is how Azaka works and how to make choices about how you choose for your formation in terms of gold find. It should never be copy paste, use these champions. Never. Because the gold find champions, there's always introducing new champions, so there's always going to be, maybe potentially more relevant gold find champions available. So I try to explain it as I'm choosing these champions because these are the current biggest ones. But what you want to look for is fine. You don't need these. If you don't have these champions, you need to go look for the ones that are the best gold find. So yeah, I don't do an Azaka farming guide outside of that video one. Yeah, I teach you how to fish. Yeah, that's it. Force user, best slot 1 champ for a new player to open a time gate for. That's the only slot I still need for split the party. Ooh, it depends on what you want. If you want speed, it's Deacon, who's the boy right here. Normally he doesn't have the dragon wings, but that's a skin. Deacon for speed, or Kira for deep pushing functionality. Yeah. One of those two. So it depends on what you really feel like you need right now. Do you want to go faster? Because Deacon's got a great buff too. It just doesn't, it's just Orkira's is better, but Orkira doesn't make you go faster, so. Which one do you want? I kind of recommend speed for new players, in all honesty. Getting things done faster is wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling when you're starting, and usually you have enough power to do the things you're trying to do early on. And those kind of meta best in slot champions can be unlocked later. So Deacon, probably. Garbled for life, is there a pity timer for electrums? No, silvers and electrums do not have any kind of pity for you at all. None at all. You need 54 for each new event. No. No? What? Oh, no. Like, no. There's no pity timer for electrums. Or silvers. Or named silvers. Any kind of silvers. Because there's no guaranteed upgrade. There's nothing that they offer that's, I mean, they can offer blues. They can drop all the way up to blues, but there's no pity timer for them. For golds, if you wanted to get full epic on a champion and you had the worst luck, you would need 54 gold chests. In my experience, in all of the champions I've ever unlocked and geared up in this game, I've never had to get to 54. On average, I'm full epic in somewhere in the 30s. Somewhere in the 30s. Yeah. I've even had I've had the best, almost the best possible luck you could ever have in events too, where every free play I was doing was giving me a gold chest. Sean will probably remember this because I literally reported myself. I submitted a ticket and said, I think my account's broken. All I'm getting are gold chests. But then I've also run the pity timer on many, many events where it's like, I don't get a gold chest except for every fourth run. So, RNG is going to RNG. Statistically, you can run into any kind of situation. Eventually, at some point, I will probably go 54 gold chests for an event champ, but yeah, it hasn't happened yet. Again, most of them have been in the 30s. And on a couple rare occasions, it's been in the teens. Again, you can, statistically, you will end up with any kind of combination. It's just how it works. I'm cheating. Help. I do that. I think Sean can attest. Now Taylor probably, but yeah, I report myself fairly regularly for doing things I shouldn't be doing. Taylor's gotten all those now that Taylor's the support person. Like, Taylor, I'm not supposed to be doing this much damage. Why am I at area 1800 or 2000? This formation shouldn't get there. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a very hard bug to figure out right now. There is a kind of a bug where you're getting more damage than you should be, and I've lately it seems to happen more often than not for me, and I cannot figure out why. Do you have a Briv Gem Farm guide? I do not. I do not. I've talked about it on stream multiple times. I've demonstrated it, but I don't have a guide for it. Zeke, I believe, made the original guide. You can find it on the subreddit. Probably search for it in the Discord. Lediath has kind of iterated on that guide. And I think has even like figured out, like can even figure out like as things change and damage changes exactly how to alter things. I do not get that deep into it. I just rely on, you know, their work to help the community because, yeah. Yeah. DPS bugs are almost certainly crit related these days. Well, then it wouldn't be a bug per se. I can tell you right now, my most recent one I know was a bug, and it didn't have to do with crits because it was the same champion setting Bud over and over and over again, setting an outrageous Bud over and over and over again. It wasn't my DPS champion. And based off crits, I did have Caddy Bree in, but that should have been helping everyone equally set high crit numbers because of the way her ultimate works. Whatever target you hit with Caddy Bree's ult then can get crit based off her crit chance and take crit damage based off her crit damage. So that should apply to everyone, in which case my primary DPS should still be the one taking the most advantage of it. Not a support champion. But my support champion was beating my primary DPS by like E50. Shouldn't have been happening. Definitely a bug. It was ridiculous. And the way I know that's not, it's not, again, that's how I know it's not crit. I know it's not a bug because, I would not be using Cthulhu on a deep push. Cthulhu is not that good. The reason I also know it's a bug is if I restart my game and it stops working, that means I cleared the bug. So, who's the support in question? No, I've submitted that via ticket the way I'm supposed to. Via ticket, I think I did. I think I put it in my Discord chat. I don't know if I submitted. I think because it cleared the next day, I forgot to submit the ticket. But yeah, it's just an occasional thing that happens. Lately, it's been happening. It used to just happen for me in offline progress and background progress. But now it's happening in active play. So it's getting worse in terms of how often it's occurring. Because it used to be once in a blue moon, and now it's happening fairly regularly, and I think I'm getting close to a pattern. I don't, Kafini, I don't like bugs no matter if they're in my favor or not because you don't know what else it's breaking. Exactly. That kind of bug could be breaking all kinds of things, and it could be hurting you in other ways, and it could be holding back. We've seen bugs, that take a while to get tracked down and fixed, that are making champions too strong. That affects balance. That affects the ability for the devs to actually balance the game correctly. And also, if it's the inverse, if there's a bug that's making a champion too weak, that makes it hard for them to balance the game too. Please report bugs, even if they're in your favor. Enjoy them while they're in your favor. It's highly likely, as devs have stated this repeatedly, that a bug that is in your favor tends to be lower on the totem pole, lower on the priority list. I should be using that term. Lower on the priority list to fix, unless it's majorly game breaking. So there are a lot of things that are in the game that aren't intended gameplay or are bugs that are in our favor that they leave because they're like, well, it's more of a priority to fix the bugs that are hurting people than the ones that are helping people. Please submit your tickets. And when you submitting a ticket, I'm just going to do this real quick. Down in the bottom right, you can't see it on my screen, but just to the right of, see my cursor's over here by Melf. Just to the right of here, you can't see it on the overlay, is the little question mark. That's the support bucket. Hit button bucket. Well, it's a bucket because you throw a lot of stuff in it, but they'll open a browser tab. When you submit a ticket, just put a brief topic like, my damage is too high and I don't know why. And like there's one for my scenario. And then in the bug report, in the ticket that you're submitting, go, first, generally speaking, tell them what you're seeing. Here's what I'm experiencing. Then new paragraph. This is important. It is important to use paragraphs when communicating with people in a written form. Explain what you're seeing, first paragraph. Second paragraph, explain what you expected to see. This is a big deal. Third paragraph, ask the question, which of these is supposed to be correct? Because for all you know, you may be misunderstanding something, and they'll help you understand it. Or it could be a bug, and then they'll let you know that it's a bug. Right? Those three things, generally speaking, across all of gameplay and all the games I've worked on, those are the three things support has liked to hear. The support here may want different things. You can, but that's generally speaking in any game. That's kind of what you want to do. I say this for those who don't know. I've worked in the video games industry doing community management. So yeah, and also it just interacted with lots of developers, like I do now, on games that I play. So screenshots help sometimes, sure, but honestly. That really only helps if it's a visual bug and a screen. With Idle Champions, my understanding that when you submit a ticket, and this is why it's important to submit tickets through the client. If you submit a ticket through the client, it should get a snapshot of the game state, which should give them some information as well. I'm not making a pair of graphs for every ticket, but I mean, it might help. You never know. If there's one, but yeah, it depends on what kind of bug it is. A picture might help with a visual bug. A video clip might help if you're trying to reproduce some kind of weird, funky combinations. But if you can use your words, you should be able to explain things as well too. Erebor, is Dungeon Master campaign unlock? They are not. They are an event champion, so you would have to either wait for their event or do it in a time gate. Obviously, you can do a time gate at any time to grab them. I don't remember what event they were in to be able to point you to that. But yeah, if you want Dungeon Master time gates, going to be good. How many tweets comprise a full paragraph? A tweet is usually a tweet could be a paragraph in and of itself, but a tweet could also have paragraphs in it. So that's hard to say. Henry says, also from experience with answering tickets, please put what happened, what did you do to make it happen in 2 different paragraphs. Sure. I mean, it depends on if you know. That's the thing, is that means you know what made it happen. And that's kind of a whole other situation. If you're like Quebec and you know what you did. Oh, God. If you're like Quebec and you know what you did, then sure. Here's what happened. Here's how I made it happen. Because a lot of times that's huge. If you can reproduce unintended gameplay of some kind, whether it's a bug or just generally problematic, something that's problematic and that maybe people shouldn't be able to do. If you can reproduce it, that's the hugest thing in the world for game devs. That's huge. That means they can go in and step by step be able to reproduce it themselves, which means they then can figure out much more easily what the problem is and resolve it. There are times where, like, I have been age appropriate, of course. I have been in a bar with developers having drinks, and the topic, some kind of topic in a game came up, and I was like, oh yeah, but that's this, and this, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, wait, what? And then they start talking, they're like, oh my God, now we know exactly where that bug is. And then I got free drinks the rest of the night. It's a big deal, folks. If you can reproduce a bug, that's a big deal. But it can be very difficult to do, and that's a lot of times when bugs stick around for a very long time in a game. It's in part it can be just because they don't know how to reproduce it, like this current damage bug. And sometimes it's because it just takes more effort to fix than is worth. But a lot of times it's because they can't reproduce it. Oh, we've heard from chat. The running is Dungeon Master's event, but it's not back around again until April. So time gate for the Dungeon Master. Time gate for the Dungeon Master. Oh, yeah, there is a number for stuff in the welcome back box if it's offline stuff. I can't remember how to make that happen all the time, to be honest. Let me go over to a background party. It's this box. Let me get over here. This box, where is it? How do I make it, Sean, how do I make the welcome back thing show up? Shouldn't it be on these if I go to a background? Oh, there it is. Down to the bottom left. There you go. Click in the bottom left. This number string comes up. They give you a copy button. So if you came back, like if you turned your client off and it came back and something was broken, click in the bottom left, then click copy, paste that in your ticket. I know it looks weird, but this gives them data that they need. Also, if you're switching to a background party like this and you get over here and something went wrong, there you go. There you go. Do that. Rough Rider, how many complaints about wasting bounty contracts on Venus outside of events will it take before devs to reconsider their buff mechanic? That's a choice you make, honestly. I don't think that's... If players choose to use bounty contracts outside of events on Venus, that's their choice. Do I think it was the best thing they could have done? No. But then again, they did it with potions on BBEG too, so obviously they're okay with this. Art Demissive, yes, we have a free time gate weekend. We're out of time here, unfortunately, ironically. Masters free time gate, Rosie, Penelope, and Korth. Who do you use more? Penelope. Penelope. Grab yourself some Penelope, even though she's not OP anymore. She's still great. All right, folks, that's going to be it. We are out of time. This is the last stream for the weekend. Streams will return on Tuesday, is my understanding. Should return Tuesday the 25th with Mars's Guiding Hand, 8 a.m. Pacifically speaking. However, I stream on my own channel. Yay! I stream Idle Champions on Mondays and Wednesdays usually, so you can join me for Idle Chatter. If you have more questions or you want to see, what gameplay, I'm usually either doing high-level gameplay or I'm updating guides. You can hang out for both. But I also just stream other games, too. So in about an hour-ish on my channel, again, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr, it's right down there. I'll be playing some more of that Star Wars game, that Star Wars Jedi Survivor, if you want to join us. I feel like we're getting towards the end, but I've also got a lot of collecting stuff to do because I like to do that too. So come join me in about an hour because that's the current game I'm working through. And I think, depending on how quickly we finish that, the next one will probably be Baldur's Gate 3, but I don't know. We'll find out. I definitely want to play that game. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. The song we're going out on is... we're in Wild Space. Hive Mind for the Mind Flayers, folks. Enjoy. Have a good weekend.
Open up your mind and be free. No more pain, no more sorrow for thee. At the end of time, the universe is ours. Join us as we sail across the stars. Take our hands, you'll never be alone again. We will be your only friends. Across the march of time, we subjugate the weak and strong. your mind can't resist, so why not come along? Ever growing, all consuming, no resisting, thoughts subsuming. Such a tasty treat. Your memories exist for us to eat. Hopes and dreams are sour, but fears and doubts are sweet. We relish in your flavors of defeat.